guy to request a membership of one of these agencies to be appointed by the Board of Selectmen at a time when the board has, in addition, reviewed the mission, tweak it, raise questions, whatever you want, and get it back to Tom so that we smooth it based on their recommendations. And then have the interest of these various peoples come forward to you. And then at some night, hopefully like within a month, our timeline is a month, evaluate the mission, solidify that, get the people on board. They have shown along the way, obviously we've been at this now for about 3.5 years, in the infancy of getting this far. We know a lot of the players on these various boards that have shown the interest. I know Jim, if you speak to Jim, has shown interest in the Board of Selectmen to be tourists, and he's concerned about the very property and all that opportunity for cities to show an interest. I don't know if that means you want to serve in this membership, but people like that from the various, Warren Pierce obviously is very hot as a very reused member and also a CPC member. Go on with names, but I don't want to suggest that those are the people you want to target. Our advice is to just go to the various boards and let those boards obviously recommend that.
Recommend somebody to bring forward.
Well, we're like I said, there's 6, 7, or 8 people we know that are very strong about being involved, staying involved with the process. So that's what we're asking for you tonight. Kent has given you the where we've been, where we are, where we got to go, and then specifically your exercise over the next month. As soon as that's formed, the meetings will start. We anticipate once a month with the membership, representatives from DPW and the consultants at every meeting as we guide this process through. It will be one of those committees that will have an ending cycle. It's not about to develop some other political entity in the town. It's not what this is about. This group has a specific mission. It starts and then it ends.
What's the end date?
12 months, 18 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable to think it will be done sometime next year.
Okay. Questions? No? Mr. Rowan, questions? Mr. Murphy? I would ask the town administrator then to go forward with that request from Mr. Hanlon to get notice out to these various boards and commissions and have them submit a name to us. I'll speak with the members and see if Mr. Muldoon would like to do this.
Put you on the spot, but I guess they did.
It's okay.
Okay, do we have any further, any questions or comments from the audience? Mr. Jones.
Mr. Chair, I'm presuming the answer, but I think it should be asked for clarity for today. Is there any crossover between wastewater management study and stormwater management?
The stormwater management is all encompassing. That would include water as well as wastewater. It's all encompassing.
There is some.
Oh yes, the big umbrella is actually, believe it or not, the stormwater.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for the report. Yep, Mr. Muldoon.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask a question, as long as Dave is here, that's unrelated to what we've been talking about.
Oh, I have no problem.
Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
I let him know about it, so I'm not catching him off guard. This is about the snow and ice removal budget. There's a couple things I'd like you to address. Currently, the budget is $125,000, and everything that I see here is we just about expended that $125,000. Now, I guess my two questions I'd like you to address is that this has been a pretty light year as far as snow is concerned, so my first thought is that this budget is extremely underfunded. And secondly, a few of these storms, I'd just like to ask how you manage the storms, basically. The largest storm that we have listed here was 7 inches back in December 9th, and that took over $26,000. And I guess, is it a timing thing? If the storm hits during the day, is it less expensive, and maybe this is an overnight type storm that takes $26,000? Or is there some relationship to the time of day, and why so much spent on so little amounts of snow? And we really haven't been hit very hard yet. And we could get a foot, foot and a half, 2 feet, and many times over between now and April. So I wouldn't mind you addressing just all of it.
You asked 3 questions, really.
Okay?
You asked about the amount of dollars that are appropriated for the account. And is it a reasonable number, or is it a greatly underestimated number? We have, in the last 5-6 years, routinely spend just under $300,000 a year, about $275,000. So the answer is, this number is always been much lower than the actual expense. 2, it's been mild, but winter always comes in the winter. Just because it's been mild, we still have events. In my memo to you with the upgrade on expenses, I think it was referred to.
Yes.
Not including last weekend, which pretty much put us at and over the 125. But up until that weekend, we were ahead of snowfall than last year. The difference is, it's been mild. It snows, a little inclement weather, but then it warms right up, and there's no snow on the ground. If it's been cold, and we had the exact same snow that we've had today, and up until not even counting this last weekend, we had 22.5 inches of snow. 22.5 inches of snow. But it just hasn't stayed on the ground. If it had been cold and staying on the ground, everybody would accept winter as a normal winter. That's the difference. The events, we assume roughly, and it's always a guesstimate, it's like water in a given year. What are we going to get for snow? We assume about 20 to 25 events. That's sanding, salting, plowing, anything that involves winter operations. We estimate 20 to 25 events. Prior to last weekend, we had 10 events and 22.5 inches of snow, and our historical average for this area is 48 inches. So we're actually in an average year. What's not for snowfall or events, what's not average is the temperatures, because they're moderating back. So that's, I get asked more questions and queries when we have a mild winter than we do when we have a heavy one. Because when we have a heavy winter, everybody there's a sense of resignation. Well, we're getting clobbered. It's always when we get a mild winter, I get questions from folks like yourself, because it's like, but if you're in the business of doing it, you know, we're busy. So that's just, you don't have to do it. You wake up and 2 days later, the sun's out, the snow's gone. It's like, boy, this is an easy winter. And it is an easy winter in terms of having that moderating weather. Don't get me wrong, because we get rest. The most difficult thing to manage in any event is fatigue. The town has been very supportive with equipment, the operating budget in general. When we go beyond our budget, you enact your emergency so that we're allowed to finish winter and do what it takes to make that happen. So the town is overall very supportive of that activity and operation, but the one thing that's very difficult to manage, like last year's fatigue, as anybody in police and fire and specific emergencies that's been through it themselves, that's very difficult to manage. The last question that you had was managing the storm. The easiest way to explain that is delivery of services. It's no different than picking up your rubbish. You pretty much know when it's going to be picked up. Plowing a snowstorm, people pretty much know when it starts to snow and become plowable snow, they can almost expect what time their roads are going to be plowed. It depends obviously on weather. You could get 2 inches of snow that we could just treat and never have to plow because it's very dry and the chemicals will just deal with it. You can have it very, like we had this last weekend, brutal. We were 30 hours of materials, plus the scraping, just constant materials, scraping materials, just freezing all over. So the weather can dictate all kinds of various alternatives in terms of how long it's going to take, how much chemicals we have. But the system's the same. There's X amount of sanding routes, there's X amount of plow routes, and when it's time for sanding, all that gets hit. And when it's time for plowing, all that gets hit. You don't pick and choose, because then you don't have a system at all. So when we have plowable snow, half our crew is our own and half our crew are private plows. You want to save a few bucks? If it's a 3.5-inch snowstorm, real easy stuff, it's going to take us twice as long to do it with our own crews. We won't call a private crews in this storm. Fine. You won't get them in for the rest of the year. When we go in, they go in. That's a fair system, and I can tell you it's very difficult to get committed people today with plows and drivers. Very, very difficult. The CDL licenses and so forth are required. So the system is a good system. It's very efficient. It's quick. A sanding operation, all sanding evolution should be done in less than 4 hours throughout the whole town. We can do it in 2.5 to 3 hours. A good plowing system should be done in 4 to 6 hours, and we're on the short side of that. Now, when a major storm hits, all we can do is keep the routes open, one pass. When the storm starts, we have the radar, we have the up-to-date means to watch it. Then we make the final push. If the storm comes in quick, we only bring the plows in. Hopefully, we can treat the roads, bring the plows in one pass, and they clean it up at the same time. If it's a long storm and you're getting 7 inches of snow, you can't wait for that storm to be over. So you have to keep the routes open, and then when the storm is done, you widen it out, push it back, and so forth. We had some winters when we had to go into snow removal. We managed snow removal very tight. That's huge expense. We don't even have that as a major practice in the larger cities. Obviously, that's a huge business. But because we're more rural, we don't even have major snow removal operations. We can just go into town center, clean up some blind intersections and so forth. The sidewalk plow is only used for the toddlers that have to walk, school kids that have to walk. Otherwise, they take the bus. Those aren't done. We just do the sidewalk areas where they have to walk. If we have open weather and it doesn't melt and we don't get any more snow, sure, we can continue to do the walks. But that next day, the roads are open, they're treated again, and the walks that need to be done are done. So that's the routine.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you've explained it publicly, because I think people are concerned about the budget. They hear budget being expended, and everything that I've seen, DPW does a terrific job, and people expect pretty much that they are able to get around the town and have all their streets cleared at a quick pace. So I wanted to just make sure that everyone realized that you are doing the best you possibly can with what you have to work with. And we still are at the budget limit, or surpassing it.
Except for the weather.
With a lot more to come.
Except for the weather, as far as being moderate, we're actually having normal precipitation for snow and ice. And we're also having normal expenses.
Well, I guess one last question. 125,000 is obviously not enough.
Hasn't been the figure for years.